Convict Agus Suyanto has been named as a suspect in the bombing incident. Suyanto, also called Abu Muslim, spent 4 years at the Nusa Kambangan prison for his involvement in the bombing at Cicendo, Bandung, West Java in 2017.
The National Police confirmed that the blast killed a second inspector assistant, Sofian, and injured 10 others.
Now, to find out more about the recent attack, we are now connected live with anti-terrorism expert Noor Huda Ismail. Good morning, Pak Noor. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
So I want to start off, from your analysis and point of view. So what was the motive behind the suicide bombing in Astana Anyar? Was the perpetrator connected to any group?
Yeah, I mean, like it is very difficult to determine precisely what is the motive because the guy died. But before answering to that question, we have to move beyond the existing stereotyping. We are talk about terrorism. First, maybe they can say, oh, they must be crazy guy, they must be evil, they are not like us. It's not true. American scholar, Hannah Arendt has coined a term called banality of evil. So these people are banal. They like us, you and me. And then radicalization could happen to everyone. So therefore, to understand this kind of phenomena, we have to move beyond ideological explanation. We have to look at other pool of post factors like individual grievances, either group grievances, or even slippery slope, even love, even also risk, and also what you call it, social status. So we have to move beyond this one. For instance, the case of Abu Muslim, as you said, we must see it as a wake-up call for not only Indonesia but regional government that this issue of terrorism, social integrations, or what you call it, deradicalization, will not go away anytime soon. We are witnessing at least between 8 to 10% cases of recidivism or relapse. It means when we release 1,000 terrorists out of the prison, we might likelihood to see 100. So this is that's big. It's massive, big. But compared to other criminal, maybe low compared, like say, drug or other issue. But in terrorism, we cannot afford to have this one. And this is not only the work of one agency to tackle this very big issue, because people always blame one organization like, BNPT, this is the National Anti-Terrorism Body, has failed miserably to deliver this issue, to tackle this issue. But you have to know that those who get involved in this violent activity require complex and complicated process. And therefore now, I think my suggestion to tackle this issue, it requires multi-agency involvement. We have to move beyond traditional security approach. Security is still very important. Police play important roles, prison play important roles, but we need to engage community. We need to engage family. We need to engage education system. We need to engage also religious authorities to challenge their toxic ideology.
Yeah, oh my God, that is so good that you mentioned about that, because we need a very a fundamental education to have since us very little probably. So, and then also you mentioned about the possibility of relapse of these people. How it is possible that they will relapse, and what would be an effective way to eradicate terrorism and prevent recruitment?
First, there is no single silver bullet to tackle this issue, and what definitely we can classify into three to answer this question. Your question, first, how the state should respond. State mean like the government, and then how the society must respond, how the individual must respond. At the state level, it is easy to said than done, which is coordination. We do have enough strong regulation compared to other region in Southeast Asia. I live in Singapore now. I know it's a bit different. In Malaysia, in Philippines, they're very different. We Indonesians have a solid legal framework. But the problem is, it's very classic everywhere, it's a coordination among agencies that need to work on this very subject. So, and this is one of it. And then another issue that we need to start to think seriously will be what I call it decentralization of this issue. At the moment, it's very centralized Jakarta approach. The attack
Oh,
in, let's say, in Bandung, so all the authorities from Jakarta must go there and tackle the issue. But we know that now we see the spread of the terror. We some of the time we witness what happened in Medan, what happened, the arrests in Papua, even as far as Papua. We cannot rely heavily Jakarta-centric approach. We need to give the local government bandwidth, understanding how to tackle this very issue.
yeah.
So this is a government side. For the community level, I think the communities start to embrace the notion that no one is born as a terrorist. It's required processes. And terrorist or radical is not a thing. It is a process. There is a process of joining, staying, and leaving. And I'm glad that you include gender in this debate, this morning conversation, especially with the deaf, because we need to have a gender perspective that men and women radicalize differently, and then we tend to lump at the moment we tend to lump together as the same. No, it's very different. The attraction for women to join will be, let's say, getting a partner, but the
Yeah.
attraction for men to join has to do with his masculinity as a way to accept power. And reason for living also very different. So it's
Economy.
community level.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we also need to tackle the individual level. How this individual, get into going back or relapse, as you said. Oftentimes they are just being ostracized by the community, and they cannot get a proper place and meaning and acceptance. There is one of the reason. Or even sometimes it's about status.
Yeah.
Status means that, yeah, I mean, like in social status. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much, but that is basically like that.
Yeah, that's makes sense.
But Noor, Huda,
right?
so you're proposing for like a holistic way of deradicalization.
Yeah.
We know
Yes.
it's hard. So, what kind of concrete move that you recommend for the government and the society to make? Is it tougher policies on these hardliners, or what sorts of concrete actions should the government and also the community do?
I think in terms of action, the government is already understand how to do it, but I think I can propose you a very brief ways to deal it. What I call it fit. First, feeling. You have to feel first, so you have to use your feeling, use your empathy to deal with this one. And I will be imagination. We have to think beyond what it is, but we have to think what is possible to tackle this issue. Because oftentimes the government just want to take list. I'm done this, I've done that, so done. But you need to imagine what are the possibilities, and then after that, then you have to do it. And this is very important. You have to do it, and when we're doing it, you need to coordinate, including other sector as well to influence. And the last one, this is very important as well, share. You need to share good story, and even failed story, let's say, because we are witnessing cases of relapsing or recidivism. We need to share what went wrong. Even something wrong is also lesson learned for all of us to learn.
Yeah.
Because this is our mistake to think that we expect the government like an angel, nothing doing wrong. That's true.
Yes.
They will get a lot of scrutiny.
Yeah.
But I think just displaying what went wrong with this approach, then we can learn from our mistakes.
So basically, because we're dealing with human, right?
Yep.
We're dealing with individuals. They have, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, it is wrong because when we talk about terrorism, we have been solely focused that they are one single identity of the
Yeah.
person, which is terrorist.
Yes.
No, he could be a father. He is a father. He's a husband. He's
Yeah.
a children.
Or mother.
It's mother. So we need to think that
Yeah.
it's talking about human condition.
Exactly.
It's beyond security. Therefore, in all my talk and all my writing, I always emphasize heavily we need to move beyond state security approach.
Yeah.
We have to start to embrace the human security approach, because those who embrace and those who succumb into this ideology will fail to relate other human being as a human.
Yeah,
When this
exactly.
is terrible things.
Yeah, I agree. And what's your take on the recent parole of the 2002 Bali bomber, Omar Patek?
Yeah, I think it is for me. I mean, like, it's very sad news, especially for the victims. And as I said earlier, it is not. We have to look at this beyond Indonesia. We have to look at this because imagine Omar Patek is, yes, he's Indonesian nationality, but he has a Middle Eastern background.
Yeah.
He was arrested in Pakistan. He married into Filipino. He used to be part of member called clandestine organization of Jamaah Islamiyah that has attract membership here, people in Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, and a regional problem. So, and we have to think that way too. It's not only Indonesian problem. Look at the victim of Bali bombing, 18 nationalities. Like I
Yes.
don't know more than yeah. I'm like, and now glad you mentioned about his case. And our time bomb at the moment will be Indonesian who are not still stuck in Syrian camp. What to do with them too? So everyone in this nation or in the region or even in the world will have to accustom that this issue of radicalization, social integration will not go away anytime soon. And it require, as you said, multi-approach.
Yes, yes.
Uh, Talking about the de-radicalization, we've mentioned that the Astana Anyar bomber was an ex terrorist convict as well who relapsed. And so, what are the steps in order to make an ex-terror convict 100% healed, as you can say?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know because because the yardstick for our government is de-radicalization. It means we so these people will not to have mind like the cognitive aspect de-radicalization. Unlike my approach, I just focusing on disengagement. We have to disengage these people from using violence, because de-radicalization, what is really going on in your mind, is very difficult to measure. Very difficult to measure. I'm not psychologist. I will not be able to do that. But I do know. I know that I can judge whether these people still pro-violence or not by judging their behavior. So I think what the government and all the stakeholders start to think will be to distinguish when someone disengage first and then de-radicalize later, not the other way around, because you have to put horse before the cart. You have to win their trust first, then give them something, and then they de-radicalize. So to do that, for instance, police will not be able to do it by itself.
Yeah.
Understanding how to connect with the community, it requires other agency, let's say social minister, to help this one, or getting a job, proper job, running a business. You need to have other organizations in government agency to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, as again, it requires holistic, it requires stamina, and more importantly, we need again and again coordination among agency is critical.
So even the media plays an important part then
Yeah,
to erase the
of
social
course,
stigma
because
of
we keep sharing the information about that.
This is the very reason why I say yes to this invitation, because partly media, the role of media. No, I'm seriously amplification this conversation.
Yeah.
Even the idea of discussing this, we need to discuss, because even you and me, I never considered myself as better than you in terms of this kind of understanding. It is what you call it a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
And if you look at my work, since 2018, I've been engaging with this kind of initiative, and then I always put I call it my client, those released terrorists as my client, as my partner, try to find ways. So I dub them as what I call it credible voice, because they have been through so many difficult times in life, and then they have experienced themselves, and I hone their skill to communicate to public. I make a documentary films. I ask them to write. I train them to engage a number of social events as a way, as again, educations.
Yes.
Because preventive is much better than curative.
Yes.
When you are in the network, when you get out, it's very, very difficult for you, as you said, fully heal. It's very difficult. So preventive is very important.
All right.
Pak Noor, Huda, I want to talk about the root of terrorism itself. So like the hardline clerics, do you think they have other motives other than spreading their beliefs or ideology? Or is money at the end of the line just like a lot of things?
It could be money, could be again, this is one very important. When you talk about terrorism, we have to move beyond religiously motivated terrorism.
Yeah.
Islam, one of it, Christianity, and also because of race, it's the rise of white supremacy, and ethno-nationalism, even a specific ideology, no religion whatsoever. If you remember, Pol Pot killed over 1 million its own population simply because you do not subscribe to communist ideology. So it's beyond. So when clerics started to advocate specific hardcore narrative against the Indonesian government narrative, it has to do with their desire for positioning, this desire to, as you said, could be money, because like it or not, this is part of the industry. You know, when
Yeah.
you get more followers, you have
Yes.
a direct, what you call it,
High
direct,
demand.
exactly. So it's sadly like that, you know.
Yeah, so basically it took a lot of process, but as Pak Noor said, the government cannot work by themselves. It needs a lot of works with a lot of people, collaborative actions from the experts, from the media as well, us as a
From you,
yeah,
from you, from
yes,
you.
and us of course as a general people, as a civil society, we need to educate ourselves, level up our education about the terrorism, about the everything that we need to know to work together to the process of the radicalization.
We have to see them as humans.
Of course, they are human like us. They make mistake, government make mistake, police even make mistake. But it's not about that. But it's time to help others to fully heal, so we don't see any kind of terrorism in the future. Thank you so much, Pak Noor.
Yes, because mistake could be our learning curve,
Of
right?
course, of course. As long as we want to acknowledge that we make a mistake, that we want to, we acknowledge that, and we would like to do something right to fix our mistake. Probably is that.
Well, you sound like politician now.
No, I'm mirroring you to what you said, Pak Noor. Thank you
She's good
so
at
much, Pak
wrapping
Noor.
things up.
Thank you so much for your time. Very nice conversation.
I learned a lot.
Exactly. I thought this one will be very tough and hard in the Sunday morning. Turns out it's very fun.
It's very fun.
Exactly.
Learning about humans and
Yes.
how to take care of them.
Yes. Thank you so much, Pak Noor. Really appreciate your time.